welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. My guest is friend, comedian, regular on this show. Love her so much. It's Lauren Mitchell.
Hello. So happy to be back. Oh my gosh.
I invited you just in time for what is otherwise the therapy episode of the season.
I'm ready. I need it.
Who knew, right? Who knew a week ago that this is where we would be at? But here we are. I mean, usually I do NBA first and then Raptors, but this week has just been a whirlwind and I have so much to say that I've decided we're flipping the script and I'm doing Raptors first. So, we got to talk about this game 3 that happened last night. And I was at the game. And I have a lot to say about being at the game. I messaged Lauren being like, I'm going to do a rant about the crowd first before we even talk about basketball. I have more notes on my rant about the crowd than I do about any other basketball. This is so wild. I mean, I promise.
You have to direct your frustration somewhere,
I promise that like the whole episode will not just be this, but I just need to get this like done and over with. So, I mean, first of all, I just felt for a game 3, something that's so important. We're down 0-2. The audience at Scotiabank Arena just did not bring it. And they really didn't bring it. I mean, yes, they were loud, but it was not, no. Like in my mind, there's playoff etiquette. Okay, this is what I'm calling it. I'm calling it playoff etiquette. And I feel like as an audience member, you got to treat the playoffs differently. It's like, first of all, you have to get to your seat. All these people who are late for the game, who are late after halftime, it's like the start of the third quarter, the lower bowl of the arena is like dead. It's like, where is everybody?
I could have those seats. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, regular season is one thing, but like playoffs, you got to be there. You have to be there. It's like unacceptable. So that was like the first thing that bothered me. The second thing that bothered me were the free shirts. Now, it's a nice shirt. I'm not saying it's not a nice shirt, but you need that bright color to have that opposing presence in the arena. Like it needs to be like a bright red or a white or even like a brighter purple. You know what I mean? So you have that visual swarming, like intimidating presence for your opponent. And we didn't have that. And most of the people who were there weren't even wearing the free shirt. And it's like, that is the whole point of it.
Well, to be fair to me personally, they give out a large. Like, what am I supposed to squeeze my ginormous, beautiful tits into that? I don't think so.
This one was an extra large. It was a long sleeve, which is like nice, but also I didn't plan for that. So I was already wearing a long sleeve shirt. And then I was wearing 2 long sleeve shirts and then I was hot.
Yeah.
It really fit snug in my waist and hips, but so much shoulder room. Like I could have fit like 3 layers of shoulder pads in there. So it was not the best fit. I agree. All those shirts should be at least a 2XL because who cares if it's baggy on you, right?
What are you, a child? Where's your bed?
Yeah. Like it's your new PJs or whatever after that.
Give yourself a crop top.
Give yourself a crop top. Put it on buns. You know how it is. But no one was wearing the shirts. And it was like, are we new? Like, stop acting new. Like, you know what those shirts are for. You know why they're there. And nobody committed to it. And it was just like, it was just dumb. Like, it really, really bothered me. Again, the shirt, the black and gold, I don't think would have created that intimidating presence like a white or a red or a purple would. Like, it almost makes it look washed out. So, again, it's not the best choice. But still, like, as a fan base, I felt like we could have tried harder. And we weren't there. We weren't there. Okay, we're getting into also like, okay, when you get to your seat, you got to stay in your seat. This is another thing I need to just add to that point. You need to go to the washroom, fine. But that's the only reason you leave. In the playoffs, that's the only reason you leave. You want another drink, you want snacks, You can order it on your phone. It doesn't matter where you're sitting in the arena. You can order it on your phone. Yes, on the Raptors app, there's a tab called Arena. And then you go to Arena and you select your seat. You could even buy a drink for somebody else in the arena.
Wow.
Once the game starts, you go to Arena, you select your seat, and then you go through the menu. You can get alcohol, you can get food, it's whatever. Now
okay, I'm learning something today.
Yes. And so it's like, I don't understand why people keep getting up to buy food and drinks when you don't have to. Now, they need to fix it because not every restaurant in the arena is on the app.
Yeah, I see.
So,
well, they're
like,
only
there's
different
a-
places. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like it'd be
there's
really
like a new
logistically hard.
Yeah, like there's like a new roti place that's not on the app and a few other things. So they need to adjust that. But you get there before the game and you get those things. And then once the game starts, you want another beer, you want whatever, you order it from the app. You don't have to get up. Like, just missing so many plays because people keep going back and forth. Oh my God. I was livid. Anyway, there's that. Okay. Booing the refs. This crowd was booing the refs before the game started.
Stop. Okay, let's not.
Before the game started. I don't know if people realize this. It's not the same refs every game. So the refs that you are booing aren't even the refs responsible for games 1 and 2. It's not the same totally people. Different. Oh my God, just amateurs. And so we're booing the refs before the game even starts. I actually felt the first half of the game had a Raptors favorable whistle, if anything. Mm-hmm. And then it's like there's one bad call and it's like refs suck. And it's like, that is a chant that needs to be earned. Yeah, I'm not against the chant.
I personally love it, but it has to be like,
it has to be earned. Like, it has to be really egregious. Like the goaltending call on OG is like fairly subjective. Like, I don't think that's like a ref suck kind of moment. Yeah. There was a block / steal that OG got. They called a foul on him, but you see the replay and it's all ball. Fine.
Yeah.
But you don't just do it before the game starts or every time they make a call, even if it's a good call. Yeah. Like, now the chant, it's just like, it's losing its meaning. It's losing its significance. And it's just like, it's really annoying. The last thing that really bothered me about the Raptors audience is the fact that we were chanting "fuck Embiid." Now, I get Embiid has been frustrating, but hear me out. We were doing it when OG Anunoby was at the line.
Yeah.
Why? Do it when Joel Embiid is at the line.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, it just, the timing of it. I'm not saying you can't do that chant, but the timing of it didn't make any sense. Like, honestly, it felt like half of the arena was attending their first ever basketball game and they'd never seen a playoff basketball game a day in their life. Like, half the people there were acting like they didn't know what they were doing. And it was driving me crazy. Like, oh my God.
I mean, it is like, I don't know. Sometimes I think I was at what I'm going to call the notorious Goran Dragic booing game. I was there with my friend Arun, shout out Arun, and he was like, "You're always going to remember this because it's the game where we booed Goran Dragic." And he was like, "And you can tell people you were at this game." And I was like, "Okay, man." I was like, sports guys are so weird. I was like, I'm never going to tell anyone about this.
Like, those are bragging rights.
Yeah, here I am telling you about the Goran Dragic booing game. But anyways, it's more so that I was like, why are we booing him? Like,
we asked him to leave.
He was like, yeah, maybe I didn't want to play for Toronto, and then he didn't. And then everyone was happy. I was like, what? Anyways, I didn't understand. But then, you kind of get sucked into the spirit of it. By like the fourth quarter, I was like, boo, boo, my sexy husband. So, it's like mob mentality kind of shit. And so maybe it's like one crowd was just like started screaming fuck Embiid, and then everyone else just joined in. But also, like, you know what? Controversial opinion. I love Joel Embiid, and it's not always the ref's fault that he's just good at basketball. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the step on the foot of Scotty Barnes is obviously extremely frustrating.
I also
but
don't think
also,
that
like,
he was like, I'm gonna hurt this child.
Yeah, it wasn't
you know what I mean?
deliberate. And I mean, if we're being real, like, this team is just outplaying us. You know, as much as we
100%.
want to blame the refs and this, that, and the other, this team is outplaying us
By like a lot.
by a lot. And I think it's just hard for people to accept that this is happening. And it was just like, look, again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not saying you can't go to a game and say fuck Embiid. I'm saying you don't do it when OG Anunoby is at the line.
Who's it helping?
Yeah. Like, at first, for a half second, I thought we might be doing an MVP moment with him at the line. But I was like, oh no, that kind of positivity will not exist in this space, like, ever.
Yeah, no, the toxic fandom.
Yeah, my very last thing that really bugs me is that people were leaving before the very end of the game. Like, when Joel Embiid hit his shot, a lot of people were leaving, and there's 0.8 seconds left on the clock. We have hit some of the greatest game-winning shots ever in recent years. I mean, there's the Kawhi shot, but there's also the OG shot in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking stay. Like, the nerve to leave in that moment. It's like, I can't, like, I mean, the Raptors will never comment on this, but it has to be deflating to see the arena clear out when you're trying to win a game.
Yeah, I mean, also, it's not like they were like down by 30 and you're like, okay, you know, 0.8 seconds, maybe I can go beat the crowd. But like the game was like a possession or whatever. Like, that's fun.
We're down 3 points. There's still an opportunity. You stay. I mean, the odds aren't necessarily like great, but the opportunity exists. Yeah. Like, it's just, again, it's a playoff etiquette thing. Regular season, this stuff doesn't bother me as much. But the playoffs, the home court advantage is supposed to mean something, and I just felt like it didn't mean anything at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, well, thanks for the therapy. I really appreciate it. I don't know. It's like, to me, it was like, I don't know if it's because, you know, we won the championship and we gained a lot of new fans in 2019, and now just people just don't know how to act anymore. Like, honestly, well, I mean, like, it really takes me back to, I mean, and this ages me, but whatever, I age myself every episode. Like, it takes me back to the very beginning of the Raptors when people just didn't know how to act.
And I mean, to be fair to this town, like, people don't know anything about winning. What are you, a Leafs fan? You don't know anything about winning shit. All you know is disappointment and booing your own team. So,
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. And I mean, is it just because, like, I watch other NBA teams and games? Like, it's just the not understanding being on time and wearing the shirts. I just, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, it just really disappointed me, and I was like, you know what? We really are not the best fan base in the league. Like, we're really not. Like, you don't see that in Golden State.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, they all wear the yellow. They're all there on time. It's always packed. It's always loud. Like, I don't know. Anyway, okay.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I do also think, like, a lot of, like, I think a lot of people in, like, let's say the people who go to Jurassic Park are being priced out of tickets for especially this, like, time of the year. I do think, especially in Toronto, like, you see people get, like, I can't afford to go to Raptors games very often. And, like, I have a job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, it's what, like, anyways, it's whatever. But I just think that, yeah, there's a lot of people there who are there for, like, clout, or who are just there because it's like, oh, I got these expensive tickets that are good seats. And, like,
oh my God.
You know, I think a lot of the fans who are, like, really amped, who've been longtime fans, like, you know, you're not getting good seats to the playoffs. You're barely getting nosebleeds to the playoffs, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and it's something that has frustrated me since the championship season is just how much real fans get priced out. Actually, one of my theories, and it's just a theory, so sound off if you don't agree, but I felt in that game 5 finals game where Kevin Durant got injured and there were the cheers and everybody went off about how inappropriate that was, and I was like, half the people in that crowd aren't real fans.
Yeah.
Like literally half. At least they
Yeah.
are rich people who decided to take advantage of the moment to say that they're there, and they don't know any better. They don't
Yeah.
know how much it sucks for the league to not have Kevin Durant for a year.
Yeah.
Like they just don't get that, and they don't care. And so when people were going off about like, oh, Toronto fans aren't this, aren't that, it's like those aren't the fans. That's
Yeah.
my opinion. I'm like, those people aren't the fans, because I was in a bar and everybody who cheered around me was a bandwagon person who doesn't regularly watch basketball.
Yeah.
And then they turned around to look at me being like, why are you so upset? And I'm like, because it's Kevin Durant and I want to
Yeah.
beat this team with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Because I don't want this asterisk. I don't want this narrative. I don't want this bullshit to follow us afterwards.
Yeah.
Exactly like it did. I could see it
100%,
immediately. And I'm like, I want to beat this team with him on the court. That's why.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, and now it's like that's kind of carried over into now, where
Yeah.
you still see that like the majority, or maybe not majority, it's like you're not going to have the numbers on something like that, but a good percentage of the people who there aren't the real fans.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that just, I mean, that championship is like a blessing, obviously, but it has those sort of like curse aspects to it that you're just going to get, more visibility and things are going to get more expensive. So, maybe we'll go on a several years losing streak and
we'll be back.
Things will be cheap again.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be that person to be like, oh, let's make this affordable again, but
I mean, make it affordable again.
Look, like when it's easier to cross the border, going to Detroit to see a game is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's really not expensive at all. And like I did it once on like a Sunday game, so I could drive there and drive back like same day. Like I didn't have to stay anywhere overnight. Totally worth it. Yeah, highly recommend. That was pre-pandemic, just FYI. Okay, so let's move on and talk a little bit about this actual series and this game. I really don't want to talk about game 1 and game 2. It's like too traumatizing. But if you have anything to say about those two games, like obviously we'll feel like we can get into it. I mean, there were just like a few like mistake / adjustment things that I saw in games 3 that I'd like to see changed for game 4. Not that I think we're winning the series at this point, but
just one game. That's all.
One game would be really nice. Let's just touch base emotionally with you because I've gone on quite the tangent here. How have you been feeling over these last 3 games? What would you like to see differently? Let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not. I wasn't fully sure that we were going to win this series. I'm optimistically was Raps in 7, maybe, if Harden plays like shit and if Joel Embiid can win 1 game on his own, but can he win 4 games on his own? Maybe not. If we're hot, that's like you've already seen it in the regular season. If we are hooping, if Gary's having a night, if Pascal's being like undefendable basically, then we're doing great. But it's, I mean, shit, sometimes you lose in basketball. I did obviously Phil Jackson, problematic person and personality. But I always think about, if you've ever read his book, 11 Rings, I always think about him being like, well, the other team's going to score. You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to have a basketball game where the score is 80-0. So you kind of just have to keep that. Someone's got to win and someone's got to lose, basically, right? The sort of Buddhist, non-attachment kind of situation. Right. But obviously I want our boys to win. What I really wanted was for Scottie to get a full series of playoff experience.
Yeah.
I don't even if we weren't going to go to the next series or whatever, I just wanted Scottie to have that, and it sucks that he was out like before halftime in game 1. Like that's shit. But I think that like, I heard Fred be like, he was just saying after the first game, he was like, well, we all got playoff experience now. So, you know what I mean? And I was like, that's literally it, right? Like, a lot of these are young like guys who've never been to the playoffs. This is a first time experience for them.
Yeah,
it's like
for Scottie, for Precious. Yeah.
It's exciting for like, even like, actually, I don't know if Armani Brooks has ever been to the playoffs before. I'm assuming he hasn't. But like, there's just a lot of like young guys like Champagny. Like some of them, I'm sure, are just like happy to be here.
Yeah, same with
at
Malachi.
all. Yeah. So I think that like in that sense, it's whatever. I'm happy they're all getting a good experience. Whatever. I just think, we pride ourselves on being a defensive team. The defense has been like gleams of gorgeousness and then kind of butt also. And it just needs to be like consistently really nice against someone like Embiid. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
and it doesn't help that our good bitch Tyrese Maxey has just been hot for 3 games. I love him. I think he's so good. I'm like, come play for Toronto. What are you doing? Come play for us.
Well, he was in a lot of Kyle Lowry trade talks that we couldn't get done. So I mean, Masai had his eye on him, and we're seeing why. Yeah, I mean, I think the Tyrese Maxey thing is really interesting. Like, I think, he's really emerged as the second option on this team, before Harden. And I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, but like, that's absolutely what's happened to this team. And I think that's like not a phase. Like, I think that's going to be how they operate going forward, that he will be their second option. And James Harden is who he is. And I don't know if it's because he's like lazy, but he seems to be very okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, he seems to be very okay with being a third option on this team. And I guess he kind of technically was on Brooklyn for like the 10 games or whatever he actually got to play with Kyrie. But anyway, I mean, that's a whole thing. I didn't see Tyrese Maxey popping off the way he has. And I was picking, I was picking Raptors in 7, but a part of that pick, like it kind of alludes to what you're saying earlier, was also banking on the idea that this team was going to continue to fall apart as they had at the end of the regular season. But I mean, give them credit. They found themselves in that week off. I don't know what retreat Doc Rivers took to do, or like, what sweat lodge. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where they went or what they did, but they really figured that out. They really found themselves. And had this team been like this at the end of the regular season, I would have been so much more worried about them.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think Embiid would have a stronger MVP case than he does now.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think that just like also the Raptors were like really hot. And then I think they've been kind of like flattening out. Like, you haven't seen, I mean, when the last game that we played against Philly in the regular season, we won. And like, did Gary not score like almost 40 points that night? Yeah. Like, Gary had a hell of a game that night. You know what I mean? And Gary's been, you could tell he was not feeling good.
Well.
I was like, oh my man, did you spend the entire halftime like barfing and shitting yourself? Like, you did not look good.
And that having him in game 2, but then also Nick Nurse using his challenge to save him from foul trouble in game 2 was really frustrating.
Because he played for like 10 minutes.
Because he couldn't play. And
then after I saw Nick be like, we shouldn't have even played him.
Yeah. Nick
that
Nurse
was so
like,
clear.
He didn't admit to like not using his challenge, but he was like, we shouldn't have played him at all. So I mean, those two basically go hand in hand. So yeah, I mean, also too, like, there's something about the schedule, because we had game 3 last night, and every other team in the league, if they have a game 3, it's starting today.
Yeah.
So the schedule, for whatever reason, got kind of crunched in together. And it's like, think about how significant it would have been for our team if game 2 was yesterday, like it was for Milwaukee, Chicago, and Brooklyn, Boston. Like, that would have been huge. We would have had a healthy Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah.
right? We wouldn't have had to go through that in game 2. I mean, Scottie would have still been out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really changes things if we had that time. So the schedule, for whatever reason, didn't work to our favor. I mean, the only things I can really say about like game 4 that I'd like to see differently, and this is gonna, I promise this isn't slander, but it might come across as slander, is I really didn't understand why Kem Birch was starting game 3.
Mhm.
And I mean, we came out in the first quarter pretty good, but then he also started in the third quarter, and that was when Embiid like fully went on his run. And then midway through the third quarter, Nick calls a timeout. He brings back Precious Achua, and Kem Birch doesn't play again. And it just sucks because it's like we are really, when we have an injured player like a Scottie, you really see the lack of depth. And I think what's been great about Malachi in this series and the brief moments he's had is like, sure, he's not like scoring or making a huge impact that way, but he is making a big enough defensive impact that we're not actually losing the game when he's on the floor. And I think that's what we need from Kem, and I don't think we're getting it.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that it wasn't more between like Precious and Chris.
Yeah.
Like Boucher. Because Chris has like such an energy, especially something about Philly that he just like pops off against. And he was like making weird shots. He was like making weird shots, which like he doesn't always do. But yeah, I think he brings like a different energy to the game as well. Same with like, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more Utah minutes, because I think he also brings like a speed and an energy to the game when he comes on off the bench. Even if he's like not hot from a scoring perspective, like he brings a big energy to just like the team as a whole, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like having somebody out there that can buy you rest for the other players without it costing us the game. Literally, like that is like, it's the bare minimum you can ask of a bench player. And the reason why I say like this is not slander on Kem Birch is because we're talking about Joel Embiid here. And I don't think there's a world where you can realistically expect Kem Birch to be a huge force against Joel Embiid, but he has to be good enough that we're not losing those minutes. And so
like that's where Scottie not being here hurts. Had Scottie been healthy and played the full game yesterday, I think that was
we win it.
A win for us. Yeah. But you know, this is what it is.
Yeah, and I think too, like, you know, I'm tired of people criticizing Pascal, but he really didn't have a good game. And
but he can't.
I don't think he scored in the second half at all.
He can't be perfect every time, you know what
I'm
saying? Like,
no. And so I think
my guy like dragged our asses to the playoffs.
He absolutely did. And that's why I'm like
he dragged us out of that fucking play-in tournament. So
he really
did. People want to shit on Pascal, whatever, but like you get to have a couple off games, man. That's what the rest of the fucking team is there for. Like everyone lets Fred have a couple off games and isn't immediately like trade him. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is about Pascal that like fires people up because we pay him a lot of money or whatever. But like, again, my guy dragged us out of the play-in tournament, like basically single-handedly. So put some respect on his name. Like, do not talk shit about fucking Pascal. I'm not hearing that shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's happened to I don't think this is just Raptors discourse. I think this is just discourse on the internet in general, but that you can't like, you know, critique a guy's name without totally dragging him down. And I don't know why that's been so impossible for people, but yeah, it's just frustrating. I mean, I don't know. There was something about game 3 that felt very final to me. Oh, hello, we have a visitor. If you're watching on YouTube, we have a cat. You know, there's something about game 3 that felt really final to me. It would be nice to come out and win a game 4 just to have that one game, but I don't know. I mean, it's just they've clearly dominated us. It is what it is. It really sucks. And I think the only new observation I could give is that even though like Fred, Pascal, OG, Boucher, like we won a championship with those guys, but their roles were significantly less for all of them. And
Yeah.
so now I'm kind of seeing like they have to go through that like new version of their own playoff demons. Like every team has to go through. Every team has a phase where they struggle in
Yeah.
the playoffs before they win it all. And so I feel like this team has to go through that all over again, and we're seeing it, but that's okay. Like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think they'll learn a lot from this.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's Surge doing? Nothing. Like, we could use Surge, you know?
I mean,
Imagine Surge and Gary, the sexy energy that they would be bringing to the table.
the thing
The
that
fits, the sexy
fits
energy.
alone, the fits alone. The thing that bothers me so much about the last like year and a half of Serge Ibaka's career is I feel he's become deeply underrated. And I do think he after he went to the Clippers had a really bad back injury. I don't remember exactly how long it took him to come back, but he just wasn't the same again. He even spent some time in the G League.
Yeah, I saw
He
that.
spent time on their G League team, but he's back now. He's with the Bucks. The Bucks picked him up during the trade deadline as like as a Brooke Lopez kind of insurance policy type situation because he was injured for a while. Brooke Lopez is back now. He's basically just relegated to the bench. And I mean, I get why the Raptors didn't necessarily want to pay him, although I was really upset about it at the time. That move obviously worked out. But he would be great to have on our team. I think if anything, he's a great locker room guy. He's a great veteran presence. Like I remember when we were down 0-2 against Milwaukee. I mean, it was Serge Ibaka who rallied everyone together and said, like, look, I went through this on OKC and we bounced back and won, and we can too. And I mean, to this day, Nick Nurse like credits Serge Ibaka for like motivating everyone and bringing everyone back together. So, I mean, yeah, I miss Serge and I'd love to see him on this team again. And if there's a world where we can pick him up for like a veteran minimum or something, like I think that's a good pickup.
Yeah, I agree. Bring Serge back. That's the Cathryn and Lauren agenda.
Agenda. Let it be known it's an agenda.
It's an agenda.
We have motives.
We've got a plan. We're getting
We've got scarves.
We've
got dim sum. I remember you did a video about his favorite dim sum place.
The best dim sum.
Yeah, we're here. Let's hope Serge let's hope Serge still listens to Raptors Republic. Hey, you never know.
He must, yeah.
He must. Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit about the rest of the NBA playoffs. I'm gonna do like who has surprised you the most so far, and aside from the Raptors, who are clearly the biggest disappointment this playoff season so far. Aside from the Raptors, who's your biggest disappointment? So let's start with who has surprised you the most.
I have a couple people, like the entirety of the New Orleans Pelicans basketball organization. Yeah. That's so tight. The game against the Suns the other night was like, I tuned in halfway. I was like, I had been in a show and I came home and was like, what is happening in this game? Devin Booker's gone, and they're just like, I was like, this is amazing. So like Willie Green, Ingram, shout out to all those guys. That's great. My sexy husband, JV, Ingram, and Tyrese Maxey. Look at what happened there. That's so great. I know Raptors fans are mad, but like if he was on any other team, you would be like in a playoff situation and we weren't up against them, you'd be like, that's fucking sick. Like, good for him. You know what I mean? It's cool to see people like, sorry. Showbiz, baby. I'm in my kitchen. Yeah, I think the like Maxi thing is funny because again, like people would be really hyped for him if he was like not playing for the Sixers or if he was like on the Raptors or whatever. And I love when guys find their footing in the playoffs. I think it's cool when like young guys make a big splash in the playoffs. Like that's really fun. I'm also just enjoying like the John Morant show That's my
Mhm.
that's my pick actually in the West is Memphis. I know it's not going to happen, but
But that's who you want. Yeah.
I just think that would be so fucking fun. You know what I mean? Who's more fun than John Morant? No one.
Literally no one. I agree. He's incredible. Also, why does his dad look exactly like Usher?
I love it. Every
Did you
time I'm
see
like,
that?
why is Usher here? And then I'm like, it's not Usher, it's John Morant's
The
dad. I
only
literally was like, is it just because I'm stoned? Like that I thought that was Usher?
No, the
No,
only reason why I realized it wasn't Usher is because I heard him talk, and I was like, "Oh, that's not Usher.
certainly
Usher
not Usher.
doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that." Yeah, that is absolutely wild. Yeah, I also had the Pelicans on my list. I really thought this team was gonna get swept,
Same.
and the fact that they haven't been swept is wild. I mean, the Devin Booker thing's really interesting. It came out today that he is likely to miss both games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that, like, if we're being real, like, they should be able to win 2 games against the Pelicans without Devin Booker.
oh,
Like,
absolutely. Like, I still think Phoenix is winning this series. It just means it might take a little longer. Like, I don't know if the Pelicans are gonna get another game or not, but kudos to them. I mean, if anything, for the Suns, it's like, what does this mean for them down the line?
yeah.
Like, as the playoffs go on. That's
Yeah.
really where you're gonna start to wonder. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting that the Pelicans have made this a series, and who knows? But they have definitely surprised me. And like, let's be real, they're doing this without Zion.
Yeah.
So, if this team is doing this well, and then they're going to get Zion back next year, and if he can play, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
that's
mean,
obviously the
right.
big if, right? But I mean, if he can play even like 2/3 of a season, that's like so huge for them. So, yeah, I mean, the Pelicans have a bright future, and they're definitely on my surprise list. I did not think the Timberwolves were going to get a game against Memphis.
No, me neither.
I'm just gonna be real. I really didn't. So they have absolutely surprised me as well. I talked a little bit last week about the Bradley or the Patrick Beverly celebrations and chaos, and I'm still not a big fan of him, but it's exciting for the Timberwolves to be a thing.
I agree. Yeah, that's fun for them. Although, again, like, I'm Memphis, go Memphis. I also think the Jordan Poole thing is interesting over in
Oh yeah.
over
Yeah, I
in
mean, the Warriors
the
being
Warriors land.
successful doesn't surprise me, but Jordan Poole as an individual, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now
Yeah.
it's like there's all that stuff going online about like the Splash Brothers, but now like his last name is Poole. So it's like he even adds more to the whole Splash Brother scenario. I mean, yeah, I think like their future, them being able to like retain him down the line is going to be really interesting. I'll say this about the Warriors. I started off the season in November being like, we might be watching one of the greatest comebacks in sports history with this team. They're
Hmm.
really, really good. And at that point, they hadn't even had Klay Thompson back yet.
Yeah.
And then Draymond goes down, and it takes a while for Klay to get his footing again, but you expect that. And then Steph goes down, and then it's like, okay, this team is still really good, but it might not happen this year. But now they're back and they're healthy at the right time. Steph Curry coming off the bench, incredible. And they're dominating at such a high level right now
Yeah.
that I mean, they could win it all. They
Yeah.
really
Also,
could.
what's the kid's name? Kaminga?
Yeah.
That kid is also great.
Yeah. Kaminga's great. Like their depth is for real.
Yeah.
And I think and then also that last week of the final season, or sorry, of the regular the final season. That last week of the regular season, Klay Thompson really found his shot.
Hmm.
And now he's shooting like he's old Klay Thompson again. So
Hmm.
the Warriors for me have become like must-see TV, right up there with the Memphis Grizzlies, and like I'm really enjoying this team. And Draymond's playing like he's straight up like defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he was obviously injured for too much of it to get that, and it's already gone to Marcus Smart, which whatever. I'm just an anti-Boston Celtics person. I'm sure he earned it. Who knows? I try to watch as few of their games as possible, but yeah, I mean, the defensive effort he has put on Jokic has been so impressive.
Yeah.
He absolutely is the best defender in the league right now.
Yeah.
He's turning this very likely to win the MVP this season, not, into not who he was in the regular season. I don't want to call him a joke, joke or whatever, but I mean, yeah, it's been incredible. And I think actually that leads me to my biggest disappointment, which for me is the Nuggets. I really thought, I mean, it's so easy now to be like, oh yeah, the Nuggets are, nothing without Jokic and blah, blah, blah. But I really thought this team was going to put up a bigger fight. I didn't pick them to get past the first round once I knew Steph Curry was healthy. Before Steph Curry was healthy, I was like, this could be a legit first round upset. But once Steph was back, I knew that wasn't going to be the case. Mm-hmm. But I still thought they would get I still thought it would be Warriors in 6.
Yeah.
And now it's looking like a sweep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I just don't think that they're going to play that. It's just they can't make it work without Jamal Murray in the interim, I think. Jokic can't do everything, right?
Yeah, they need him.
They need that depth side of thing. I think for me, my biggest disappointment is cheering for the Boston Celtics. So
yeah.
And actually, you know what? I'm a longtime Kevin Durant stan. I think he's hot. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We my celebrity, I think we could be a great couple. We could be a great power couple, me and Kevin Durant. So
I support
he's listening.
this.
If he's listening, call me, I'm also on Twitter a lot, so I don't have any burners defending my own honor.
No, but if you
respect it,
if you at him enough times, he'll find you through one of his accounts. He might block me,
but
through one of his accounts.
I've only ever tweeted nice things about Kevin Durant, so
yeah, so he won't block you.
But I just I can't cheer for the Nets,
They're proper villains.
Yeah, I'm not going to cheer for Kyrie at this point in time. So I've been fooled before.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I fooled before by Kyrie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You thought the Earth was flat? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Who's saying it's not, Cathryn? What do you when you look out? Have you ever walked off the Earth? Don't you think that? Anyways, yeah, I mean, Kyrie has had flashes of brilliance. He's good looking, Sometimes he says really smart shit. He's kind of like Azalea Banks, the Azalea Banks of the NBA. Sometimes you're like bars, yes, absolutely, and other times you're like no, someone cut the mic. You know what I mean? So, but I can't be cheering for the Nets, even though I have a deep one-sided love affair with Kevin Durant. So I am cheering for the Celtics in this one single instance, which is really disappointing.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, that actually brings us to our next topic, which is about Kyrie, because he was fined $50K for words and gestures, quote unquote, towards fans in Boston. And then he came out and he was all like, oh, the fans shouldn't be doing that to me and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, my opinion is that it's like a two truths scenario. It's like a both things are true. Sure, maybe they shouldn't be swearing and taunting at you like that, but also you're also not supposed to retaliate. Both things are wrong.
Yeah.
And also too, I don't appreciate that he's saying all of that. Saying oh, they shouldn't be saying this and that to me, and pretending like he doesn't have a history with the city.
Yeah.
And with this franchise.
I mean, I will say that in defense of Kyrie, like, fuck Boston media, fuck the Boston fan base, fuck the Boston Celtics.
Sure.
I love when Kyrie plays there and they're big mad. It honestly makes me laugh so hard. And honestly, like, let the players, like, give the audience the finger. If I'm at my job and someone's just standing there being like, boo, boo, you fucking suck, you know, bitch, I'd be like,
yeah.
so I don't know, man. Like, I think it's like, it's kind of crazy to me that they just let him talk spicy about, like, oh, I'm not getting vaccinated. Like, you let this man spread literal public health misinformation, but you're gonna let a whole shitty fan base, like, boo him and call him a piece of shit to his face, and you're gonna get mad when he gives him the finger. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think some of this shit is dumb. Like, obviously fans aren't supposed to be talking spicy, but they do. And, like, I don't know. I think the players should have the right to, like, I think Fred should get to run around cradling his huge nuts and not get fined.
I agree. I agree with you on this.
I just think, like, if people are, like, screaming at you, I think it's okay to be like, okay, get fucked, man. Like,
no, I agree with all of that. I think the thing that makes me laugh is, like, this guy went from saging the place to just giving everyone the finger.
Like, I kind of love it, and then it makes the crowd more mad, which I like.
Yeah, it's like, did you even believe in the staging in the first place? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I like it. I like the whole thing.
You like the inconsistency of it all? I mean, yeah. I like it in that there is some entertainment value to be had out of it, and something like that is very, like, you know, we're not really hurting anybody here with stuff also, like that.
Was any Boston fan, like, are they dead from, like, having Kyrie give them the finger? Like, I just...
Yeah, it's funny to me that everyone would act so traumatized, as if people in Boston aren't giving each other the finger, like, everywhere.
Literally. It's like people, like, comedians, the reaction to the Will Smith thing where they're like, you have no idea someone's going to assault me on stage. I was like, maybe someone should. Do you know how much bad fucking comedy scene where the show would have been better if someone assaulted one of the comedians for fucking saying hella racist, like, crazy shit.
Oh my God.
I was like, get it together. Some of you need to be punched. Like, some of you need an open hand slap to the face. That's just my opinion.
And here are names. And it's just...
oh, that's a different podcast episode. That's a different episode of a TV show. It's a
very, very different episode for a future Patreon that I don't have yet.
Exactly. Yeah, when Cathryn gets a Patreon, we'll do an episode where we name and shame every comedian we think that should have an open hand slap to the face in the Toronto comedy scene.
Which is perfect because no one will pay the $5 to find out if their name is...
We can never be canceled for that.
No one will pay for the Patreon tier. Yeah, wow. Okay, a lot was there. Yeah, I mean, the fine is a bit of a joke, you know. I mean, it kills me when I think about money and NBA players and how much of a quote unquote joke like $50K is, because that is, like, far from a joke in my life. Yeah. And I'm sure most people listening. But I mean, I don't actually think that's enough of a deterrent to really stop him anyway. Not. So it's like the whole thing is just so silly. And I hate anything that makes Kyrie look quote unquote right. It's just kind of annoying at this point. But also, I mean, that's another series. Like, I did not expect Brooklyn to be down 2-0 at this point. Like, I thought that series, I mean, it could still go to 7. But last week on the podcast, I said Brooklyn in 7 just to, like, I don't know, mix it up, but I was not confident in that pick. And all the little things that I have that have some money behind them, which is like only $20. I did pick Boston in 7. But yeah, like, now it could be Boston in 4, 5, or 6 even. So that was something I wasn't expecting. A lot of people have been talking about Steve Nash as a coach. I think Steve Nash has to be the coach of that team because I don't know who else can, like, handle their personalities.
Yeah.
Like, you just need somebody stronger on the coaching team to literally do all the grunt work and all the X's and O's and all the schemes. And then Steve Nash is just the one that like breaks it down to them. Like, you know what I mean? Like Phil Jackson and I think even Lenny Wilkins had these like assistants that were by their side forever.
Yeah.
Like, I think Phil Jackson's assistant actually created the triangle.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've read.
Yeah, but I'm pretty
11
sure
Rings,
that's
but
the
it's
case.
Like the Tex Winter, but it wasn't his
Tex
assistant. But it was
Winter.
some guy. Tex Winter was the guy that
Yes.
he was like mentored by, and then he hired him on at like every place he went to like
Yeah,
work with him.
and Tex was just happy being Phil Jackson's beta. And I think that's what Steve Nash needs.
Yeah.
As a coach. That's what he needs.
Tex Winter is very sad. He like I believe he has like Alzheimer's or dementia or something now.
That's sad.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry to be a bummer.
No, it's okay. A little life update on Tex Winters. Yeah, so that's what I think Steve Nash needs as a coach, because I can't think of another person on the planet who could handle all the BS that team has to deal with, honestly. But Steve Nash seems to be handling that part of the job at least very well.
Yeah, I mean, he did a whole career of that kind of shit.
Literally a whole career of it. And that's also probably why Kevin Durant was like, he's my guy.
Yeah.
It's for those reasons.
Yeah.
Half these guys don't even think they need a coach. So that's a whole thing too.
Mean, there's times when it's debatable that they do, but anyways. I think you
mean like last night when Nick Nurse told Fred to not be on the ball for that inbound pass? Maybe in that moment we did need a coach. That was not a good moment. I mean, we've reversed the segments this week, so that leaves us with our Nick Nurse Hottie highlight. And wow, it has been a rough week for Nick Nurse.
He's not feeling it.
It has been a rough week for Nick Nurse. I mean, he has made some coaching errors in this series. Not that I think we're not still completely outplayed without those errors.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that little inbounds pass in game 3, not great. Also, maybe Fred doesn't need to be on that play. There's a lot of other adjustments that could have happened there. He had his moment with Joel Embiid, which would have been a little more satisfying had we actually got to win the next game.
Yep.
I mean, what did you think about that? I mean, Joel Embiid, quote unquote, respectfully telling Nick Nurse to stop complaining / bitching about the ref calls. I mean, to me, I'm like, yo, that's kind of his job, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, if your coach isn't, like, at the very least trying to make sure you're getting good calls, then they're not really doing it. But I mean, like, listen, other fan bases, like, if they don't want Nick Nurse to come be the coach of their team, then they really hate him. And I think he just gets all red faced when he's angry, and he's like, he just has this like look about him when he's mad and yelling that like he just, you know, people are like, I don't like this man yelling about stuff. But he's our yelling guy, you know, and we love him.
So. Yeah, and he's the one that needs to yell at the refs more than the refs.
Yeah, because like you can't, like, what you don't want is your players yelling at the refs and getting kicked out of the game.
Yeah,
for talking spicy to the refs.
I mean, going back to what I was saying earlier, I was at the Pistons game where Nick Nurse got ejected. But in that game, it felt really earned to do the referee suck chant.
Yeah.
Like, I was very in that chant, but that game really called for it. I mean, anyway, that's a whole thing. Yeah, it has not been a good week for Nick Nurse, but that was probably his biggest highlight, like getting into it with Joel Embiid. I wish, you know.
That's the only Raptors coverage I saw on my, like, my not Raptors specific sports coverage.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the only thing that made it up from that series is like Nick Nurse is mad at Joel Embiid. So
yeah, and Joel Embiid trash talking Nick Nurse is like kind of an interesting choice. But I guess I think he holds a grudge against the Raptors in a way that like not that I quote unquote forgot, but it was like, oh, like this is like really real for you.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to win.
Yeah, of course he wants to win, but
They
I don't
want a
know if
chip over
but
there in Philly.
does he shit talk every coach or does he shit talk our coach?
I think it's literally just us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our coach. It's like that's the thing he takes personally. It's our coach. Yeah, who knows if they'll get into it in game 4 or not. I mean, it looked like it was one of those scenarios where it looked like Nick Nurse didn't have a good comeback. And he probably like plays it back in his mind, like when he's home, like, oh, I could have said this, oh, I could have said that. Like it feels like it's that kind of moment for him where he's thinking of all the things he wish he said to Joel Embiid in that moment.
Yeah. Big time. Oh, it's so funny. Little Nicky Nurse, you'll be all right.
Did you see Drake following Joel Embiid out the tunnel?
Yeah, our corny little mascot.
What a traitor. What a traitor. I mean, I should have put that in my audience segment. I mean, what a traitor to just be following Joel Embiid out the game, all smiles. When you're our ambassador and our shitty t-shirts that are not imposing in any way say OVO on the back of them. I mean, what a joke.
Well, Drake just likes basketball. He loves the sport of basketball. He loves other famous people. What do you want? I don't know. It's just Drake. He's just gonna do dumb shit. Remember when Philly was like, or was it the Bucks that were like, he can't be like at games, he's so distracting. It was the Bucks, wasn't it?
The Bucks did that? I don't remember. Maybe. Feels like them.
Yeah, and like whatever.
Like in 2019
when they were like, he can't be here. He's like so distracting.
It reminded me of Devin Booker complaining about the Raptors. Yeah, like I think we have to come to terms with the fact that we're annoying. Like as a fan base, we're annoying. And not in a way that actually
the toxic triangle.
Yeah, not in a way that actually helps our team. So I think like come to terms with that.
Honestly, what I've realized from like being on Twitter is we're a horrible fan base.
We are horrible.
Absolutely fucking terrible. Just garbage. So toxic.
I've gone from the start of this episode from being like we're not the best fan base to being like we might be one of the worst fan bases.
100%.
I listened to this podcast called Greatest of All Talk, which is hosted by Ben Golliver and Andrew Sharp. And Ben Golliver refers to the Raptors fan base as termites.
Yeah.
Like literally refers to us as termites. And then I called him out on it and he's like, no, I mean it in a loving way. And I was like, what? Shout out to them.
Our friend Alex Wong, shout out to Alex.
Yes.
He was telling me about there's like a podcast that's like a Blazers podcast where they refer to like Toronto, Philly, and Miami as the toxic triangle of fandoms. Oh. And they're like always so stoked when a player gets out of the toxic triangle. And they were like, Kyle Lowry almost got out, but then he got traded to Miami. And I was like, yo, that's actually facts.
Yeah.
That is the like because we shit on like the Philly.
Well, I think the Knicks the Knicks fans need to be a part of that in all fairness.
The Knicks are their own thing though, I feel like. That's like
they're their
New
own
York
Bermuda
energy. Triangle. Yeah. That's like New York
within our toxic triangle, they have their own even deeper triangle. Like
the Knicks fan base has nothing to do with anything else. It's pure New York shit. Like everyone I know from New York is like, we don't cheer for the fucking Nets. You know what I mean? They're like, no real New Yorker cheers for the fucking Nets. You know what I mean? You're like, fair.
And everyone outside of that is like, we don't get this rivalry. It's expensive everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get it. Yeah, that's a whole thing. This is just a real coming to terms with who we are.
This is why I try to tweet positively, I only tweet critically about our nation's broadcasters, Sportsnet and TSN. I try not to tweet too critically about like any NBA players unless they're like being dicks or whatever. But
yeah.
We're all just here to have fun. It's just a game, right?
Speaking of our friend Alex Wong, so a few weeks on the podcast before the playoffs started, Chris Myers was on the show and we were talking about how it's going to be the Doc Rivers versus Nick Nurse series if it happens, and we've got a doc and we have a nurse, and this has to become a whole thing. And also Nick Nurse is an actual doctor. He got his doctorate. So he's
Really?
actually, yes, that's a real thing.
Doctor Nurse.
So he is Dr. Nurse. And they went on this whole tangent about nicknames for the team. And I was like, you've got Dr. Nurse sitting right there.
Like,
You got to go for it. And then he was like, oh, like, I don't know. We really need to take care of the players first. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, what if we face Philly and it's Doc Rivers versus Dr. Nurse? Are you not going to say anything then? And I don't think they did. I mean, okay, in all fairness to me, I've had a very busy week and I haven't seen the last few episodes of the Raptors show, although I do try to catch most of them. So they have said something, please correct me. But I was like pretty shocked. I'm just fully calling Alex Wong out right now. Was pretty shocked that they didn't like think that was funny and run with it.
Cathryn, how many times do I have to tell you that men are not funny? If I'm sharing one item on this show that I feel I need people to take away, it's not men are not funny.
Your strongest opinion of all of them.
They just don't get jokes. It's not their fault. It's just they're just genetically inferior in that way. It's science.
I love that. I'm gonna run away with that answer because it's the most clear answer I could think of.
Answer.
It's the most clear and correct answer. We'll never get a better answer to that, but I mean, you know, Dr. Nurse, it's where it's at.
It's funny.
Thank you.
Is funny to me.
Thank you. It is funny. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll hear in the comments from the men listening to this podcast how they feel about that.
Send them to me, you know.
No,
I'll just
fine.
ignore them.
It's fine. And just tweet out more positivity.
Yeah.
We're covered. We're good. Lauren, we've come to the end of an episode. What a journey. What a therapy session this has been. But we needed it. We got through it. You know, happy game for Raptors fans.
Yeah,
Hope we, you know, let's just take, you know, if we lose that game, let's just celebrate a great season where we exceeded expectations and we know we have a bright future. Lauren,
fifth in the regular season. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me. Let us know what are you up to and where can people find you on the internets?
You can find me on Twitter at Internet Lauren, tweeting my random basketball thoughts into the abyss. If you're in Toronto, you can come see, we do a monthly show at the Garrison, a comedy show, where yes, sometimes there are men there. There's always a man there. My co-host is a man. It's usually like the second Monday. Our 9-year anniversary show is coming up on May 9th. So if you want to come to that, it's going to be super fun. But yeah, that's really it.
Awesome.
Sometimes on this podcast, you can find me as well.
And sometimes here. And you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at itsme_Cathryn, spelled Cathryn. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye.